Hello, hello. It's Sunday night, and what happens on Sunday night? We have our usual chat, live chat. I'm in Italy. I don't know where you are. You're going to tell me down in the drop down box in the chat down there. Give me your name and where you're joining from. It's always lovely to have you join us. I didn't have a chance. It's been an incredibly busy day to send out the usual notification, which I do in advance and also on Instagram, but I didn't have a chance. I literally came in the door an hour ago, had a quick bite to eat. I see somebody's joined us, so really lovely. So write your name in the chat box and let us know which city you're joining from. Just your first name and the city's fine. Anyway, welcome. I have a glass of French wine. I sorely need this glass. It's been a very busy week, quite a long week, and Sunday's here. That means tomorrow's Monday. That means a whole new week. Well, I think today is the first day of the next week. So, chin chin, whatever you're having, a glass of wine or coffee or tea or whatever you usually drink on a Sunday evening. I've just had a bowl of pasta, which I quickly made, and this is what I had with dinner, so I'm finishing it off as I talk to you. It's 9 o'clock. It's our usual time. Chin chin, whatever you're having to drink. So, what are we discussing tonight? Because last week we chatted about lots of things. You can go and have a look. I normally put the playlist of all the videos. If you're new here, my name's Amanda. I'm coming to you from Italy. We talk about Italy, what's happening, what's not happening, how things are going. We talk about lots of things. And a couple of weeks we've spoken about people who are moving to Italy or thinking of moving to Italy. Half of the world's moving to Italy after Trump got in. So all the celebrities want to come here. And if they're not coming here, they're going somewhere else in Europe. France probably, which isn't a bad idea in terms of taxability. But we're not going to talk about bureaucracy tonight. We're not going to talk about moving because there are lots of videos on that. And if you want to see how to move, what to move, dual citizenship, done tons of videos. You can go and have a look at my playlist. I'll hook it up in the description box and also up there later. So if you join us later and you watch this back later, please leave me a comment. It's the best thing you can do for us YouTubers because YouTube decides on who to push our videos out to based on three things: how many likes, so that you can go like the video right now, comments, and how much discussion there was in the chat, and subscribers who join regularly. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you regularly watch, please do. Makes a huge difference to the vlog, and I would love you to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're brand new here, stick around, watch it, and if you like it, great. We're going to talk about Italy tonight, the place I live, the place I've lived for 22 years. I've helped many people move here. I've answered every possible question you could imagine that people posed to me about Italy. And tonight we're going to cover some of them. But tonight is a different video in that I thought, because I've lived here so long and I've become an Italian citizen, I am an Italian citizen. I have dual citizenship. I got my citizenship via naturalization after living here for 22 years. Generally, you need to live here for 10 years or, before Brexit, it was different. But anyway, that's if you're British. If you're not British, Brexit doesn't matter. But generally, people who already have an EU passport don't see the need to get an Italian passport because they're already EU. But I think by now, some people say, I'm always worried about, well, worried isn't the right word. I'm always a bit afraid of talking about anything that could happen in Italy that perhaps doesn't please me very much. Because lots of people watch to get their dose of encouragement because they're thinking of coming here and it's all romantic. And I've done millions of those videos. You can go watch them. The romantic side, right on my first video, I did my story of my first few years here in Italy, very romantic. how I found Lucca, my city, all of that. You can go watch those. I've done so many romantic Italy videos, so many videos about what I love about Italy, all of that stuff. So it's all there. But tonight's going to be my pet peeves about Italy. And I think it's time. Some people say, well, aren't people going to be upset if you talk about what, isn't so great or what has gone wrong in Italy? I think I've earned the right after 20 years, 22 years of living here and having sent quite a few people to Italy. So tonight's my pet peeves of Italy, things that can go wrong and do go wrong, and just my feeling. I'm quite tired. I've had a long day. But here I am, and we're having our chat. So when you come in, please drop down in the chat box. Let me know you're here. It does help when I know who's joining me and where they're joining from. So chin chin. Let's get right to it. My number one pet peeve. Okay. Well, there's a whole list. But I noticed today one of the ones, I'll start with the one that happens the most often. You've all heard about Italian driving. I'm sure you have. Now, there's two schools of thought. Those who believe that Italian drivers are the worst in the world, and those who believe that Italian drivers are the best in the world. And sometimes you could believe both things on the same day, different feelings. Italians love being in their cars. They live for their cars. I would say they drive quite aggressively and fast and whatever, which is great if you're the driver, okay, and you're Italian. Not so great if you're the passenger in the car with the Italian, or worse, you're a pedestrian trying to cross the road or trying to just get somewhere on your feet and avoiding the traffic in Italy. Now, I know the South is worse than the North. I know all these stories. I've lived here for a long time. So some people could say, in Napoli, they drive like complete maniacs. There's just no rules. They do what they like. But I live in the North, and I have lived in the North for most of my sojourn in Italy. I've lived in Tuscany. I now live in Lega Maggiore in the North, 1 hour from Milan. I have negotiated traffic in Milan, going to work in Milan for at least 18 of these 22 years. So I think I have a good handle. I regularly went down to Tuscany on the weekends. I travel all over Italy all the time. So I think I have a handle on what Italian driving is like. Here's something that happens regularly that drives me completely batty. You come up to the pedestrian crossing. There's great big white stripes. In the North, they maintain the roads quite well. We pay an enormous amount of tax for them to do that. In the South, it may be that you go on a pedestrian crossing that's kind of worn off and they can't see. But believe me, in the city that I live in, the pedestrian crossings are bright white and you can't miss them. My hair's still wet, by the way. I had a shower when I got home from my vintage market, so at least I'm freshly showered, even though my hair is still wet. It's doing crazy things. So excuse me if I try to rearrange it. So the crossing on the pedestrian crossing. So you're coming up to the pedestrian crossing and you see the car coming and you imagine, because perhaps you grew up in a place where it's a little more civilized in terms of pedestrian crossings, and you step out, you're going into this pedestrian crossing and you look right because you should, and you see that this person has no intention of stopping. And in fact, 99% of Italian drivers do not stop at the pedestrian crossing. What they do is they sort of slightly, and I say slightly slow down, hoping that you will scurry across and that they don't have to change gears, gear down, and actually stop. Happens to me every day, at least 10 times a day. When I go to the post office in the morning to send my parcels off, because I have a vintage jewelry business, so I receive parcels and I send parcels. So it happens every single time when I cross that pedestrian crossing to go to the post office or wherever I'm going. I walk a lot. I walk every day. If you watch the vlog often, you'll know that. It's my source of getting around, and it's also my main source of exercise, which is great. It's one of the nice things about Italy is it's still very walkable. Okay, great. So I come up to the pedestrian crossing, I glance right to see, and sure enough, this car is streaming towards me, and I have to decide, will they stop? Are they going to hit me on the pedestrian crossing, or should I just hold my ground and hope they slow down and gear down and stop? It's the one thing that an Italian hates to do is stop at a pedestrian crossing. They will do almost anything to not stop. Pretend they haven't seen you, or vigorously say, well, come on, what are you waiting for? Run across. I'm not going to dart across a pedestrian crossing hoping for my life when it's there for me to cross. It's not a highway, it's not an autostrada, it's a built-up area in a city. Happens to me every single day. And it's the one thing that I've never acclimatized to. There's so many other things that used to irritate me in the first few years. But after a while, as I myself became maybe more Italian after so many years, I let it go. It doesn't bug me anymore. But this always bugs me because it's just so annoying. Another thing that happens, and this is probably number 2, but it's related to number 1, is when it's raining, Italians go completely crazy if they're in a car. It's as if they're not in a car and they're not covered. It's raining and they just shoot through the pedestrian crossing. You're trying to cross. Italians go crazy when it's raining, even though they're in a car. I do not know why. It's something that I've never understood. I've discussed it with various friends, some of whom are not Italian but have lived here for many years, some of whom are Italian. The Italians never understand why. It's almost as if they have to dash home. It's raining, but they forget that they're in a car and they're covered, and that you're standing in the dripping rain with sometimes in the pouring rain or snow, with your umbrella waiting to cross, and they just zip through and miss you by inches, literally. It's something I'll never get used to. It drives me crazy. And on days when it's rainy, there are lots of Italian elderly people who don't go out of their homes for slippage. Because another thing is, on these pedestrian crossings, the paint that they put down becomes very slippery when it's wet. Things do become slippery when they're wet. Well, that pedestrian crossing becomes fatal. I have fallen more than once. All the groceries fell everywhere. I had eggs, they splattered everywhere. The people who eventually were forced to stop, they probably didn't want to, as I was darting across the pedestrian crossing, had to stop the car. I was literally spread-eagled on the pedestrian crossing with my groceries scattered to the four winds, oranges rolling down the hill, eggs everywhere. I had to try and pull myself up, which wasn't easy. I thought I had literally broken my leg. It was so bad. And another pedestrian who was crossing from the other side came and helped me up. It was very kind. An African man, actually. And yes, and the people in the car just looked at me as if to say, well, what an inconvenience. What a terrible inconvenience. We actually had to stop. She forced us to stop. So yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. And it has never ceased to amaze me. And I remember I was going all around Milan from one quarter to another. So I crossed 1 million pedestrian crossings every day, back and forth, back and forth. And it's pretty much a given. Doesn't matter which city it is, Italians will not stop at a pedestrian crossing. If you fall in front of them, as I did a couple of weeks ago, and your groceries are rolling down the hill, they might be forced to stop. But otherwise, they just want to slow down and hope that you run across so that they don't have to be inconvenienced. Inconvenience is something that Italians really try and avoid at all costs. It's true, I promise you. So that's number 1 pet hate. Pedestrians in Italy have a very hard time. They say, and I know when I've been in Rome, I've heard this many times. You need to cut in Rome, it's particular near the Vatican. If you can get behind a bunch of nuns, so in other words, if you can become like a cluster of nuns, and you just kind of join them, you might be able to cross, and they might stop. But otherwise, you're taking your life into your own hands. And it's not just in Napoli, it's not just in Amalfi, it's everywhere. Milan is as bad, and I live north of Milan, it's just as bad. They will not stop. They vaguely sort of try to sort of gauge if you're going to run, and then they sort of just go behind you. Quite often they buzz you, they miss you by inches. Drives me wild. Number 2. Right. Number 2, I mentioned the post office. I quite often go and send parcels. You get in the post office, you get in the queue, you've got to have a number, okay? The numbers apparently run concurrently. It's you allocated a number, and the system should monitor them properly. Regularly, the system doesn't work, so you've got a number, somebody else has jumped in front of you, whatever. I've got to the point where I don't actually care anymore if somebody jumps in, because there's a rule in Italy, and that's the exception. There's always room for exceptions. Always. There's always a room for an exception. And on any given day, on any given post office, anywhere in Italy, there'll be one of those exceptions. So somebody will know somebody who knew somebody who'll jump in front of you. And it doesn't matter that you've got the number. They will sort of say, oh, is it okay if I just, yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, there's always the room for the exception. And it's normally not you if you're a polite person, because you don't want to jump in front of other people. But it's about bureaucracy. So I know every single person in my post office. They see me sometimes twice a day, at least once a day, every single day. They know me by name. They know me by my first name, every single one of them. And normally when I come in, the people who've been there the longest, and certainly most of them, will smile at me and say, yes, there is 2 parcels waiting for you, whatever. Sometimes I'm sending the parcel, but generally that's fine. But then comes a day, and quite often, regularly, recently, there's a new person. Obviously, the new person doesn't know me. I don't expect them to know me. I'm just delighted that most of them do know me in my post office, because there's a lot of stuff you have to do in an Italian post office. They say the British go to the pub for succor and for warmth and for company and for just to be, to feel comfortable, to meet somebody that they can chat to feel, the lovely English word succor. Okay. In Italy, they go to the post office. They meet their friend at the post. They have a little chat and da-da-da-da-da. And they moan about what's happening in Italy and the bureaucracy and all the crap. And they complain about how slow so that's how they get their daily buzz in the post office. And there's some seats which theoretically should be given to people who are perhaps a little bit elderly or perhaps can't move very well, but generally they're just inhabited by whoever feels that they got them first. So it's a new person in the post office. And so let's say today I decided I needed to deposit some money in my account. Great. So I've taken my ID card, because in Italy it's law. You have to take your carta d'identità, which is your ID card, everywhere. You can be asked on a train, you can be asked anywhere for your ID card, and you have to produce it. It's law. You cannot move in Italy without your ID card. Some people say, especially the British, you don't have an ID card. And I don't know, maybe the Americans don't have an ID card either, unless they leave the country. Then you use your passport. They feel that it, makes it into a police state. But this is the law of Italy. If you're on a train and the police happen to get on the train to check what's going on, and they ask you for your carta d'identità and you don't have it, you're in trouble. You should always carry it. You have to have a very good reason why you don't have it. So basically, my wallet was stolen a while ago. I had to replace my ID card, and so I now travel with a copy. It's laminated. It looks exactly the same, but it's not the original. Anyway, it's fine for everybody else in the post office because they know me by name. But here's a new person, and I presented my bank card that I was putting the money in, and I presented the ID card that I had. And she said to me, "You can't deposit. This is not your original ID card. We need the actual, the proper one, the electronic one." Oh, okay. So I said, "I'm here every day. Everyone knows me, and I've done it before." And that was a terrible mistake. It was a terrible mistake. All the people in the bank who know me by name, who greet me in the street when I meet them outside, who deal with me and have dealt with me for years, suddenly turned on me because now they're Italian and I'm the stupid foreigner. And suddenly they said, no, 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 we would never accept that card. They had always accepted that card. And every time I'd been to the post office, every single time, suddenly, because there was this brand new person who didn't know me, they all knew me, they suddenly decided, oh yes, no, no, we'll pretend we don't know her because we have to show this new colleague that we would never accept that copy of the ID card. And so I was presented with all these Italians standing with the other Italian, the new one, and me standing there like a complete fool, with all of them pretending after they'd known me for 2 years and always greet me and always, I'm there 3 times a day. They all know, every single one of them know me, but this was a new colleague. So they had to prove to this colleague that, oh, yes, no, she's the stupid straniera and I'm just we're Italian. We present a united front. This happens regularly. If you go to the Comune, you will find it. If you're ever stupid enough, and I'm incredibly stupid, if you're ever stupid enough to, in any slight way, to indicate that you might not be 100% happy with how things have gone when they've cancelled appointments that you had, when they don't respect appointments that you make, that when you turn up at the time and there's nobody there. If you ever even think about voicing your, what's the right word? Your opinion that perhaps things haven't gone perfectly, they will go ballistic. It happens every time. I have learned in Italy to have something that's called a false happiness. So you turn up there, you're so sweet, you're so charming, you overdo it, you're incredibly charming, you say, you become simpering, you become accepting, you become, because Italians love to be told that they are the best people to do anything. They're so efficient. The office works like clockwork, even though it's a complete minefield. But the only way that you can live happily in Italy, and I'm telling all of you who want to come and live here, because this is what I do on a daily basis, is to develop this kind of false happiness, that wherever you go to any office, that you smile liberally, that you tell them how wonderful they are. Well, if you can't speak Italian, that's going to be difficult. But hey, I can't, so that's what I do. You tell them that everything's fabulous, that it's such a beautiful country, that you're so honored to live here, because they can see, because in front of you, they have your ID card. You can't do anything without your ID card. I already said that you're an Italian citizen. And I have literally had people hiss when they hear that I'm an Italian citizen. Yes, I'm an Italian citizen. Now, people obtain Italian citizenship in various ways. I obtained it by naturalization, by living here. But there are masses of Americans, and especially recently, there's been an upswing in Americans who, through their grandparents, through their parents, through their bloodline, can apply for Italian citizenship. I'm not going to go into the details because I've done a post on dual citizenship, and if you want to know, you can go and look at that. I've done numerous posts on that. But basically, if the bloodline hasn't been severed by the person taking new citizenship before you were born, or the first person in America was born, you can apply for Italian citizenship. And there are tons of Americans who've come to America. Some of the people who join us on the vlog have come to Italy on Italian citizenship. Okay. How do Italians feel about this? I don't know. I can imagine. But I'm telling you right now, when I present my ID card, which says Italian citizen on it, they do one of two things. They completely act as if they didn't see that, or they do a double take and start studying me, and I know exactly what's going through their brain. So you can obtain Italian citizenship through marriage. Obviously, I didn't, but you can. After 2 years, you have to write an Italian language exam. And if you marry an Italian and all your documents okay and you have a clean police record, I'm not going to go into the details as I just mentioned, you can get Italian citizenship by marriage. Yes. You can also get it via your bloodline. And in my case, and many other people who've been living here for some years, you can naturalize after so many years. You still have to write the language test. You still have to have a clean police record. You have to have all your documents certified, translated. It's a huge thing. It cost me about €3,000 just to translate all my documents from English into Italian, even though it just says the place you were born and your parents. But nevertheless, it's quite a thing. It's not something that you do because you're bored. It's something that you really have to plan and go through. Anyway, I have it. But there I am. I'm at the Comune, which is the municipality, town hall, whatever you want to call it. And I'm waiting for my appointment. And I've learned not to actually do or say anything that can indicate to them that I think that their efficiency, their treatment, the way they run the office is anything other than marvelous, fantastic, the best in the world. And I've learned to do that because it just takes you a lot further. If you are stupid enough, and quite often I'm incredibly stupid, if you're stupid enough to go there and say, well, blah, 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 you told me to come here at 9 o'clock, it's now 10 o'clock, I came here twice, you weren't here, they will literally go ballistic and you will not get a thing done, and they will find a way to gang up against you with all the others in the office and treat you like, first of all, you haven't understood. Probably you didn't understand because you're stupid. You're not Italian. And you probably chose the wrong day, and maybe you thought you had an appointment, but you didn't have an appointment. You had an appointment, and you can't tell them that. So probably look, I've learned. It's terrible because I'm a person, if you've watched the vlog for any length of time, you know that I'm a truth teller. I love the truth. I tell the truth. I'm very positive. I think positively. I try and tell people the truth about Italy, but I'm quite romantic about Italy. I also speak about all the good things. 99% of my content on YouTube is how positive I am, all the beautiful art, the venues, the travel, everything that's wonderful about Italy. But unless you develop this art of being fake, and it is literally fake, and being fake and charming, you could be very charming in real life. I am, I think. But, you're there. They're not coming up with whatever. They're pretending you didn't have an appointment when you know you did. They're telling you that you probably didn't understand. All of this. I've learned that it's just better to start out by praising them and telling them how marvelous they are, how wonderful they are, how amazing they are. And they love it and they lap it up. And then they say, you're an Italian citizen, how marvelous. And everything goes better. But there are days, I'm a human being, when I can't rise to the complete, the heights of telling them that they descended from straight from heaven. And, I'm a human being, and maybe I'm really keen to get my piece of paper. Maybe I've been there 4 times already, and the person that was supposed to be there wasn't there, or they couldn't be bothered. And I say something that perhaps doesn't seem as if I'm praising them to the high heavens. And it all starts going so horribly wrong. And I think, oh, geez, why didn't I just come in there? Why didn't you learn, Amanda? Why didn't you just come in there and say, oh, okay, well, oh, God, why didn't you put on your fake, happy, everything's marvelous, you're all so marvelous? Why didn't you do that? Because you would have got the piece of paper twice as quickly. You came in here and you told the truth, and you asked why they cancelled the appointment, didn't tell you. You asked why, you asked if you could bring those documents, and they told you to bring something else, and you... My pet peeve. Yeah. Happens regularly. I speak fluent Italian. God help you. And I say this in all my videos if you can't speak Italian. This is why people say to me, oh, I want to move to Italy. Oh, it's lovely. I saw this house. I've seen all these houses. I'm going to buy this house that's in a 7% tax zone. It's going to be fabulous. They can't speak a word of Italian. No, I'll learn it on Duolingo. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. This is not a serious video. It's just me telling you my pet hates. If you do not, if you cannot, if you will not get Italian, it's going to be tough. If you want to go back and watch my first video on how I started in Italy when I didn't have Italian, it was a different time. It was 2002. It was unusual. English people were thin on the ground. Americans were even more thin on the ground. It's different now. There are lots of foreigners all over. It's increased to, I think, 2,000 and something. Maybe 2 million foreigners in Italy. Not all of them English and English speaking, of course. There's a big percentage of Muslim and Indian and various other nationalities. I won't go into it. I've covered it in another video. But anyway, my point is that you need Italian. And I say this every time, and people say, yeah, but, don't they speak English? Yeah, sure. If you're going to go into a shop and you're going to spend a couple of €100, sure, they'll pretend that they speak English with you. Sure, they're going to smile at you. Sure, they're going to be lovely. Sure, they're going to be happy. They may even do that in a restaurant. You may be lucky. You might find a waitress who wants to improve her English, and she bumbles through and you manage. This can all happen, and sometimes does. But anyway, so that's it. So we've done the pedestrian crossing, which I absolutely detest. Going to the post office or any office where they claim to know you, and then because they have a new colleague, they want to show how much they respect bureaucracy. Going to the comune but it doesn't always just need to be the town hall. It can be anywhere. You can be in a shop and they don't serve you and they treat you rudely, or they just ignore you, or they pretend they don't understand you, or whatever. They're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. God help you if you have enough Italian skills that you actually say, well, why didn't you help me? Why did anything? You have to go in there, you have to smile, you have to tell them how wonderful they are. And I've learned in my daily life, I live here 24/7. I've learned when I go to the pharmacy, when I go especially to a hospital, they'll cover hospital, that's my next one. You've got to pretend that you are having such a ball, that this is the most wonderful moment of your life, that everything is marvelous. You have to pretend you're in the Sistine Chapel, you're looking up at the ceiling, and the hospital staff and the nurses that are treating you like absolute crap are just wonderful people, and you're just, you're lapping it up. It's all fabulous. And then it's going to go, okay, you're going to get a lot more done. But God help you if you decide that you're fed up and you've had enough and this is the 19th time you've been to an appointment which you had to make in advance, let me explain how making an appointment works in Italy. So we have something called ASLE, which is the organization that handles all the administration of the health department. First of all, you have to have a health card. So getting the health card, that's the first issue. But I've had a health card for many years. I've covered that in another thing. Let's say you have your health card, right? So you've got to either go online or go to your local ASL and you've got to book an appointment. So let's say you need let me think what you could need. Let's say you need a mammogram. Well, actually, a mammogram is a bad thing because you only have it every 2 years and they send you a letter. Let's say you need a blood test, okay? The doctor's decided you need a cholesterol test. So, and then after the cholesterol test, you need to see a cardiologist, okay? Great, at the hospital. So you go, first of all, you have to go to your family doctor. You have to get the script. You can't do anything without a script. Okay, so you go to your family doctor. You're lucky if you get one. I'll cover that later. There's a huge shortage in Italy, and there's a mass of people who are not able to have a family doctor, causes major problems. Every time they retire, they're not always replaced with younger people. So there's the problem. So when Americans say, I can't wait to get to Italy because there's social medical care and it's all covered by the state. Well, yeah, stick around. Listen, I'm going to tell you how my life is on a daily and weekly basis. Don't be fooled. I told you I'm telling the truth tonight. I'm telling the truth. So you manage to get an appointment, right? So they give you an appointment. Let's say it's at 9 o'clock to see the cardiologist at the hospital. And also the blood test will be done. You have to go early in the morning because you need to fast overnight and then you have your blood test. So you go there with the script for your blood test to another place, which is normally where they draw blood, the blood bank or whatever you want to call it. And you go there and you have an appointment for that, and then you have an appointment with your cardiologist. So you've organized all of this. So first of all, you get to the blood bank and you find out that it's a fight. There's a queue. It doesn't matter what time they gave you. They gave everybody the same thing. This is people never understand in Italy. They give everybody the same time. They pretend that you have an appointment. You don't have an appointment at all. You might as well not have actually made one, but you can't go there without an appointment. First, you have to go to what they call CUP. And CUP is CUP, and that means you pay. People always say it's completely free. It isn't free. You have to pay a ticket. The ticket depends on how much you earn. So it could be that you're unemployed and then you get a special dispensation that you don't pay. But most people pay up to €10. If it's a bunch of x-rays and you want them quickly, you can pay €100 for the x-rays or whatever. So the fallacy that it's all free is not true. You pay a ticket to have anything done, an examination, a check, a blood test, all of that. Okay, great. So now you're there, you're ready, you've been through CUP, you've paid your ticket, everything's fine. So you arrive and it's now 9 o'clock and you've killed yourself to get there to see the cardiologist. And you're just sitting, and there's nobody to tell. There's nobody to tell that you're there. You just got to sit in a line. Sometimes there's chairs, sometimes there isn't. And in every hospital, there's a bunch of rooms, consulting rooms, that the hospital doctors who consult, they use. So it's not as if it's a department. You're not going to the cardiology department. You're just in some back passage in the hospital where you're waiting for these miraculous doctors to appear. Anyway, so now it's 10 o'clock. You haven't eaten anything. You haven't had a coffee because you wanted to rush there. You're desperate to go to the toilet, but you daren't leave the line because there's nobody to tell that you're there for your 9 o'clock appointment. It's now 10 o'clock already. And you've tried, people are rushing through passages. You've tried and they say, no, signora, lasciali. They won't answer you. They won't respond. They're not interested. Okay. So now it's nearly getting to 11 o'clock and you realize, you think to yourself, I had to go through hell and high water. First of all, to go to CUP, to get First of all, to go to ASL to get the appointment. First, I had to go to my doctor and get the script. Then I had to go to ASL to make the appointment for this day at 9 o'clock. Then I had to get to the hospital or the department where I'm going to be seen in these consulting rooms. And I have to announce myself. There's no one to announce yourself to. They might come, they might not. Okay. So now you realize that there's no way in hell. You've probably had to get a lift there, or because, parking is an issue, or you've taken the bus there, whatever. You've killed yourself to get there at 9 o'clock. It's now nearly 11 o'clock. You haven't been seen. You haven't been announced. Nobody's even said to you, oh, great, thank you for coming. Super to see you. Great. No, but finally you lose it, and you manage to go and find somebody who's working there and say, my appointment was for 9 o'clock, and they look at you as if to say, so, what do you want me to do about it? And you say, well, cardiology, here's the department, what time is the doctor going to see me? And they look at you as if to say, are you insane? I'm not the cardiologist. They'll say to you, I'm not the cardiologist. Yes, I know you're not the cardiologist, but you're working here. I'm in the cardiology department. I had an appointment for 9. It's now 11. Could you tell me? And they look at you as if to say, what kind of moron are you? What kind of idiot? I'm not the cardiologist. And I say, could you tell me what time I might be seen? Because I have to arrange a lift. They just walk away from you and look at you as if to say, what kind of nut job are you? Clearly you weren't born here and you're an idiot. And so you sit down for a bit more, and then you just think, oh, I'm getting more and more upset. I'm getting more and more angry. I don't know if I'm even going to be seen today. And somebody at 12 o'clock will drift down a passage. It will be the nurse who's handling the cardiologist patients. And she will say, like you haven't even waited for 1 minute. She will blithely say your surname, pronounce your surname in the most weak little voice. And if you're not listening, tough luck, because they'll just take the next person. Anyway, you hear and you jump up and you run towards her in glee. And then she says, she'll indicate the number of the room, and you'll go in there and you'll kind of expect the doctor sort of to be thinking, well, I had an emergency and so that's why I'm 4 hours late. He won't say anything to you. He'll look at you, he'll say, okay. You've got to haul out your notes because he doesn't want to listen to you explaining for 5 minutes, whatever it is, that you had a heart attack or you've already had a pacemaker or I don't know, you've got this or that. He wants the basic thing, and he would much prefer, rather than listen to you, and God help you once again, if you say, well, I had an appointment for 9 o'clock, he's going to look at you and say, so? It's like you ask them, I bought a lottery ticket, I thought I'd win the lottery, and they said, don't be stupid. It's the same thing, seriously. It's about the same thing. Anyway, so he wants to read your notes, and it doesn't matter if the notes are 5 years old or 10 years old or whatever old. He's not going to listen to you for 2 minutes. He's going to read the notes of whatever his colleague, the other doctor, said before you. And if you are stupid enough to try and start explaining to him what it is that's worrying you, he or she, could be a she, the cardiologist, normally a he in Italy. If you're stupid enough to think that you can explain to him what's worrying you and get an answer from him, he's just going to carry on reading those notes, and it doesn't matter how old they are. And what he's going to do is then he's going to write on his computer eventually, all while ignoring you and not listening to you babbling, or so eventually you just shut up. He's just going to transfer that what your diagnosis is from these notes. Nothing new. So if that diagnosis was wrong or maybe misinformed or not very clear or maybe wrong, it's just going to be transferred over. And then he's going to transfer onto the new sheet. I saw this patient, da-da-da-da-da. This is what she's got. She's got da-da-da-da from the old notes. And maybe she needs I don't know, a beta block, or maybe she needs statins because she's got whatever it is. Maybe they'll subscribe something for you, some kind of pharmaceutical, or sometimes they just look at you and say, what do you need? And you'll say, I'm worried because I thought I had a heart attack yesterday. And they'll just say to you, why didn't you go to Pronto Corso? And I say, because Pronto Corso doesn't understand my arrhythmia. And they just look at you as if to say, why are you wasting my time? Go to emergency if you think you're having a heart attack. Great. Try and get seen in emergency. There's another story. You'll be there for 7 hours. Unless you're literally bleeding and dying on the floor, you'll be there for 7 hours. So when people say, oh no, it's great, you should really go to Italy, it's free medical. So, yeah, okay, great. You're going to have to wait. If you have any kind of elective surgery, I don't know it doesn't even have to be elective. Could be that you have cataracts and you can't see anymore and you need your eyes operated on. Could be that I don't know, you've got a really bad spine and you need some kind of spinal operation. You've got a knee replacement. Whatever it is, if you're going to have it done on the Italian health system, you could wait up to 2 years. This is just a reality, even if it's urgent, even if you really need it. This is the reality that most people just ignore when they're having a wonderful cappuccino in Rome and looking at the beautiful Vatican Museum and holidaying in Italy. Look, the north is better than the south. I'm in the north, so the south is even worse. They're cities without hospitals, or cities that share a hospital with 3 other cities, and you're just going to have to wait. But anyway, so you finished with this cardiologist. You know no more than you knew when you came in. It's now, I don't know, 12:30. You stagger out of there. You think, oh God, at least I got seen. But you're no further along. Maybe if you insist on a blood test, but you've already had the blood test before, maybe he'll say, well, no, he doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't feel obliged to say, well, we're going to investigate this until we find out what's wrong with you. No, you've been seen, and that's all they care about. So you go home and you think, oh, I'm not going to do that again in a hurry. I spent the whole day and I've come home with exactly the same. All I've got is my old notes that have been written on a new piece of paper by a new doctor. I don't have any new information to base that on. Look, this could happen in many countries. I'm just telling you what happens in Italy because I live here. Okay. So yeah, going to any hospital, if you do go to emergency, you could sit there for 8 hours and they categorize you as you come in. So unless you are bleeding and dying, and by bleeding, I don't mean that you cut your finger with a knife minimally, or you stubbed your toe, or you've broken your toe, or I don't know, you've cut off half of your arm. You're going to have to be literally dying, meaning that you're on a gurney, on a trolley, and they rush you in by ambulance, and they have to put the heart you have to shock your heart immediately. Maybe then you'll be seen immediately. But otherwise, she's going to sit in the chair with everybody else with your bleeding arm or your bleeding foot and hope to God that it's not a very busy night. But you will be categorized immediately as, I don't know, it's green. I can't remember the colors. I'm never the right color. Green, yellow, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I don't know what the best color is, but whatever that color is, I've never had it. So there's that. It's straight to that. Whatever that magic color is, I've never had it. And you're just going to have to wait. My shortest wait in emergency in the 22 years I've been here was when I had what I thought was a detached retina, and I was told to rush to Pronto Corso. I think I waited for 18 hours. And then I waited till the next morning because I couldn't get an ambulance home and there was no taxis, and had to go and see the specialist in the hospital the next morning. So I had to wait till 10 o'clock. By then I was completely destroyed. And he told me my retina wasn't attached, but I had to come back and see him in a few weeks. Anyway, Blah, blah, blah. These are my stories. The shortest, I think, was about 8 hours because I was convinced I was actually having a heart attack. I do have a genital arrhythmia, so a genetic. Did I say genital? That's really bad. Cancel. When you do live, you can't correct yourself. What I meant is genetic. I have a genetic arrhythmia. Anyway, the shortest, I think, was 8 hours in course of waiting. In that case, lying on a gurney. At least I was lying on a bed, not sitting in a chair. Anyway, so all the dreamy stuff you hear about Italy of, pizza, pasta, mandolins, and romantic going to Venice on a gondola, this is all true. That is real Italy. It happens. It happens to me. It could happen to you. But it's not the whole story. The whole story is that the things that I've told you today, I don't know which number we're on, 4 or 5, they happen regularly in Italy. They happen regularly. Let's get to number 5 or 6, whichever, maybe 6, that annoys me even today, even though I think that I've adjusted. I think by now I'm sort of half Italian, or maybe I don't have any Italian blood, but I've been living here long enough. Maybe it's not as serious as going to the hospital and the doctor, but here's another one. Or maybe it's not as dangerous as crossing the road in Italy, where you're almost certain to be mowed down. How more accidents don't happen, I don't know, with Italian driving. But the supermarket, going to the supermarket. So here we are in the supermarket. You have your trolley, you get your stuff, you take it off of the shelf. So you arrive with your trolley at the till, right? And the general thing is that you load your stuff on the till. You know how it is. You've been to the supermarket. I don't need to tell you. And it's sort of a conveyor belt thing that moves. And so you put your stuff down there. And when the other person starts putting their stuff in their bags, you can load your stuff on. And that's how it would happen in an English supermarket. You don't want to press the person in front of you. But not in Italy. So as soon as you've put your stuff down there, I don't know if it's a lot or maybe 4 items, there's a divider. You put the divider and okay. But so you think, okay, there's already 2 people ahead of me. One's putting their stuff in the bag. One's paying for their stuff still. So there's already 2 people ahead of me. No, people will come behind you, even if there's this much space on the counter that they can put their stuff, and they will start crowding you, and they will start pushing you, and they will look at you, and they will literally come right up to you. You're already cramped. You're waiting for these other 2 people to go with their trolleys from the cashier. No, you'll have 3 people behind you waiting to and balancing their stuff on the conveyor belt to push you, to force you, to press you. And sometimes I just let it go. And sometimes I can't take it anymore because it's happened too often, or I'm just having quite a difficult day. And I will say, could you please give me 2 seconds? Could you give me some space? Because you're literally standing on top of me. You are literally breathing down my neck. I've got 5 items. It's not going to go any faster if you stand on top of me and breathe down my neck. Can you just give me 1 minute to pass my groceries through, please? No, they can't. Then they start looking at you. They can hear when you talk Italian that you weren't born here. And now they start a whole thing. And the cashier will side with them. She's Italian, and she'll say, calma, signora, calma, my favorite. Calma, as if you're so out of it. They're telling you to be calm. I'm fully calm. I'm simply asking, can you get off my neck? I'm not going to go any faster if you're standing on top of me, breathing down my neck, pushing me. I've got 4 items. As soon as they can pass through, they will pass through. I will pick them up. I'll put them in my bag and I'll be gone. How is you standing on top of me, pressing me, elbowing me, going to make this any easier? Italians have 0 patience. They drive the same way. In other words, they'll be right up your rear. And at the supermarket, it's just intolerable for them to wait 2 seconds. And so they will press you. And if you don't like being pressed, good luck. Good luck, because they will start a whole hundred. Then they'll start saying into Italian, and the person behind you, that you know how stupid you are and why you're taking so long. The cashier isn't free yet. What do you want me to do? Jump over her? So at the supermarket, Italians have zero patience, pretty much the same as they do in any queue, and pretty much the same as they drive. They will come right up to your rear. They will press you. They will push you. And if you're stupid enough to drive on the highway and keep to the speed limit, they will buzz you. They will overtake you. They will come right up to you and ram you, almost ram you from behind. And so you're in the supermarket on your 2 feet, with either with your trolley or just with a basket with 4 items. Doesn't matter. They cannot wait for 2 seconds. It happened to me today, actually, at the supermarket. So that's number 6, pet hate. It doesn't get any easier. Some days I just handle it. Other days I turn around and say, per l'amore di Dio, per favore. Sometimes I say to them in Italian, do you want to stand on top of me? Do you? Really? Come on, stand on top of me. See if it goes any faster. I don't think it's going to go any faster. So anyway, all of these things, I laugh them off, because if you don't, you go crazy. But people don't realize tonight is my pet hates. If you don't like this, I'm sorry, but I'm telling the truth, because so many people come to Italy and find out later. I've done so many romantic posts on Italy about what I love about Italy, how happy I am in Italy, all these lovely posts. But tonight is pet hates. Supermarket, post office, all these things that you do every day, the town hall, the hospital. Okay, so now, so those are the major ones that get up my nose, that grind my gears, that whatever you want to call it, on a daily basis. But then here's the thing. So this is more tradition rather than anything. But there's a certain way, and when you're first here, you want to make friends, you want to influence people, you want to fit in. And so I brought my Anglo-Saxon, or maybe it's just the way I was brought up, way of being hospitable and generous. So at Christmas, I would take my neighbors a bottle of wine or some biscuits I baked, or a nice gift for Christmas, because, you know, it's Italy, there's beautiful packaging, there's lovely panettone, whatever. And so I would go to my neighbors, and maybe not even at Christmas, maybe, you know, just to welcome them or to welcome me, whatever. I would go and take them something. Could be a beautiful, some flowers or a pot plant, something. Okay. Nothing terribly valuable, but something as a welcome, as a, you know, hi, here I am. It's lovely, you know, to have you as neighbors, and just to be friendly. Or maybe they've just moved in and I would give them a welcome home gift. Anyway. And they always say senza obbligo, which means I don't want to feel obliged. When this first happened to me, I went home to my Italian husband and said, what is going on? I'm sure maybe he was still my boyfriend. Maybe we weren't married yet. But anyway, I said to him, what's going on? I had neighbors across the way. We lived in an apartment there. There were neighbors across that way and neighbors across this way. But the neighbors across this way, we chatted to regularly. We saw them in the park when they were walking their dog. We always greeted them, whatever. So I thought, hey, it's just before Christmas. I took them some lovely, you know, wrapped, beautiful Christmassy things. They said senza obbligo, and I thought, what's that? In those days, I wasn't that fluent as I am now. So I went home and I asked my boyfriend, and he said, they're saying they don't want to be obliged to you. I thought, what's that about? Anyway, so I thought, okay, well, look, I'm the foreigner here. I don't want to be the fool who's running around doing stupid things. So I thought about it for a while, and over the years, we're 22 years on now, I've had many neighbors, I've had great friends, I have Italian friends who are my lifelong friends, who probably don't behave this way. Not everybody behaves the same way, but enough Italians do that it's a habit and it's a norm. That if you take your Italian neighbor a gift, and I did this just when I moved into this apartment, um, they will do this. They don't want to receive it, and even if you say, "Look, I'm just doing it because it gave me pleasure to give you something lovely. Don't worry, no obligation." Even if you tell them there's no obligation, they will say "senza obbligo," and then yeah, and they'll find a way that they don't want to receive it, and I don't know. I'm confused about this. Some people have said to me it's a northern thing, it's not a southern thing. I don't know. I mean, my parents-in-law were from the south, from Napoli, and there were very few people who came to their house that didn't have their blood. I think I was the first person to ever be in their house who wasn't a blood relative of theirs. They Friends just didn't come over. It's Italians generally socialize. I'm making a generalization here, but all generalizations are generalizations. But this is my observation. It may not be true of you, or I don't know. It's certainly true of me. That they generally go out for something to eat or out for a coffee, whatever. They don't cook at home. They don't have dinner parties. It's unusual. Of course, when you become part of a family, and I've been part of an Italian family as a married person, but then obviously you're part of the family and you eat at home and da 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 da, and there's birthdays and Christmases and whatever. But generally, Italians do not entertain people in their home who aren't blood relatives of them. That's a fact. It doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It's just that if that's what you're thinking it's going to happen, you're going to be, I think, disappointed. Anyway, so there's this thing of senza obbligo. And I'm still 22 years in. I've learned most Italian etiquette. I've learned most rules of what you can do, you can't do, you shouldn't do, you wouldn't do. But this one still trips me up. And it tripped me up recently when I took a gift and was told senza obbligo. Oh, they couldn't receive it. They wouldn't receive it because it would make them obligated to me. Just confuses the hell out of me. But anyway, there we are. That's not really petty. That's just something that's odd, that I find odd. There are lots of little things on a daily basis that you're going to have to look the other way. And it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that because it does ensure that you'll be happier and more settled. But I'm quite tired tonight. So it's lovely just to chat to you guys. Please don't forget to like before you leave. And if you want to go down in the chat and let me know what you think, or you're going to watch this back later, because most people watch my videos back if they can't join us for the live, please leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've encountered any of these when you visited Italy, or you're surprised, or your opinion, or maybe you disagree completely with what I have said tonight and you have other things to say. I want to hear from you. I love to hear from you, you know that. And we have a worldwide audience. People join us from all over, from the States, quite often from the States, and also a lot of Americans who are now living in Italy. So I want to hear your viewpoint, how it's been for you so far, and the things that have surprised you, maybe the driving, I don't know. Could be anything. And yeah, I wanted to cover that tonight because I think that these things can sometimes come as a surprise. Certainly the health system, if you've imagined that you've come from the States and everything's going to be free and everything's going to be easy, then that can really surprise you. I'm going to see Sarah Bailey. Hello, Sarah. Sarah joins us from Australia. It's always lovely to hear her viewpoints. Both my parents are Italian. I'm born in Italy. My father was an officer in the Italian military. They migrated to Australia, where I was born. Oh, lovely. So what do you, Sarah, I think you come regularly to Sicily, if I'm not wrong. What are the surprising things that have surprised you in Italy that you're still confused by, or maybe because your parents are Italian and will always be Italian, even though they live in Australia. I'm sure your dad in the military would have been quite disciplined. Um, what are the things that surprise you when you come to Sicily? I'd love to hear. I always love to hear different people's viewpoints. Thanks, Sarah, for commenting. And this is just a general chat of my observations and things that confuse me, and maybe some pet hates that I have. Since I'm always so positive about Italy and I love 90%. But I have something to show you, because my roses stop blooming like most people's roses at the end of August. But a wonderful new rose that I got is still blooming, even though the flowers are slightly changed. I'm going to show you my November rose that has bloomed and is so beautiful and smells like heaven. So, as a positive in this end of vlog, I'm going to show you my gorgeous, called Roberta Capucci, this rose. Isn't it gorgeous? This time it's a little pink. You can see some pink tinge. I know this light's pretty bright. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and the smell is out of this world. Sarah says, I'm 100% fluent in speaking and writing Italian, yet Italians in Italy refuse to see me as Italian. That's so true. I mean, I'm fluent and I'm an Italian citizen, and I'm always treated like a straniera. And as I mentioned, if I'm being falsely always so happy and everything's wonderful and telling people how marvelous they are, then everything's great. But God help me if I dare to question something, then I'm immediately a stranera. So yeah, I'm glad that also happens to you, because this is something people need to realize. And in fact, you are 100% blood Italian. I don't have a drop of Italian blood. I naturalized as a citizen, Sarah, but still, I find this quite difficult. But I don't know when you came in, Sarah, but perhaps you should watch this back, the whole video, and you can see all the things I mentioned. But the senza obbligo thing, when you gift somebody something in Italy, really, I find this very strange. Perhaps it's a northern thing. Let me know, because if you're in Sicily, maybe it's different. But isn't this the most beautiful rose you've ever seen? Normally, it's much more sort of flesh colored, but because it's been quite cold, it's come more pinky. But the fragrance of this rose, and it's enormous. So this is called Roberto Capucci, this rose, a fashion designer. The rose was named after him. Anyway, so I thought that I would share that with you, my lovely viewers, as a lovely Sunday evening moment. My Roberto Capucci rose. um, Yeah, I don't know. Most of these things, some weeks I can sort of ignore them. Some weeks are worse than others. But anyway, I've covered most of the things that confuse and astound me about Italians tonight, which is a rare thing. I've avoided doing this because no doubt I'm going to get some Italians who come up and say it's not like that, whatever, but it really is. I mean, I've covered the things that happen regularly so that I know it's not just a strange week or whatever. And plus, I've had many friends here who've lived here and left, or lived here and can't adjust. So I have a pretty good, I mean, I met 2 new friends today, English people. I have at least, I would say, 6 really close Italian friends. So I know I'm not imagining these things. So yes. Um, yes, I will. I'm glad you brought this topic up. You are correct in your, oh, that's so kind, Sarah. I've wanted to chat about it, but I resist doing it because I think sometimes on YouTube, things get misconstrued. But tonight I wanted to tell the truth, because a couple of things happened this week, and you guys are you guys, my audience, are my sort of sounding board about Italy, and I like to be positive 90% of the time. I am positive 90%, well, maybe 95, but every now and then I think that these things confuse me, and if they confuse me, then maybe they confuse other people who come to live here. And it's lovely to hear that you, as an Australian who is mostly in the south of Italy, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm up in the north. I worked in Milan for many years, and so I've met all kinds of different Italians. I find these things odd and I have no idea what they feel about me being a citizen. I can only gauge by their reaction. And I've heard Italians talking about other people who got citizenship, and it's not positive. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't care what other people think, if you get dual citizenship by bloodline, lots of Americans do, as I say, Americans have poured into Italy over the last 10, 15 years with dual citizenship that they got from their birthright of parents. They were born in America, but they had grandparents and parents who were Italians. I wonder, well, I don't need to wonder. I know what Italians feel about this, and it's not positive because sometimes I'm in company, they don't know that I'm a citizen, and I speak fluent Italian, so I know what they're saying, and it's a little bit disconcerting. Marilyn, when you described grocery shopping, you had me laughing. I live in Hungary as an American, and shopping is the same. Oh, that's so nice to know. Thank you for mentioning that, Marilyn. I wish you guys would go and leave these comments down so other people can see them who watch the video back because they can't see the stream. So if you feel like it, why don't you, when the stream's finished now, why don't you go and leave a comment because it's published immediately. Thank you, Marilyn. That's hilarious. Yeah, that I never get over the shopping thing. Sarah Belli, Italians are precocious, stemming from feelings of insecurity about themselves. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes try and work this out. I don't know. I feel bad because Italy's my country now, and but I think because I'm a citizen, because I've lived here 22 years, I think I'm okay to sometimes not say that Italy is always brilliant because I spend so much time being positive about Italy, and I live here, but I think I've earned the right, and if people don't agree and people don't want me to do that, then so be it. But I want to live true, and sometimes I want to voice my own confusions and things about this. So thank you so much, everyone who commented. Go and leave these comments. You can just copy and paste. Leave the comments. I'm going to end this now with my beautiful Roberta Capucci Rose. Thank you for everyone who joined today. Please go and like the video right now. Please do. If you've joined us before, please subscribe. It helps me enormously on YouTube, trying to grow the channel. Like it. Leave me a comment. Leave me a comment if you watch the stream, and leave me a comment if you already commented in the chat. It helps the channel a lot and helps those who watch this back later to get your viewpoint. There's some really valuable viewpoints of Sarah if you want to copy and paste your comments down when this is published. So bye for now. I'm rather tired. Can't wait to go and relax and go to bed this evening. Thanks for joining again on the Sunday Live. See you next Sunday, same time, same place. Bye for now from Amanda here in Italy. Have a good evening. See you soon. Bye. 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 Bye.